This is episode 143 of the Gold Squadron podcast. I'm your host, Dion Morales, and today we're joined by Marcel, back to the drawing board, Manzano.
I need a list. Get me one.
Will, Jarek Yeager is the new Strezra, Higwood?
I think that probably should have a question mark after the end of it.
And Ryan, my age starts with a 3 now, Staniszewski.
I've lived on this earth for now 3 decades.
You did. You made it.
Since last Thursday.
Happy birthday to Ryan.
Unnecessary. It's okay. I'm 30. I don't need songs.
You may.
I need beers.
All right, everybody. Well, welcome. If you're watching live or listening at home, we're about to jump into our announcements, and we got to start a little serious here. So maybe you've heard, maybe you haven't, but a gentleman by the name of Vince Kingston passed away. He's actually he was one of the big TOs for Europe. He passed away at the age of 43, and he basically was the marshal for a long time for all the major X-Wing events, as recent as the UK System Open. Unfortunately, during the week since last Monday, he did pass away. We did have an opportunity, those of us who went with Team USA, to meet him while we were in Portland, and in our short interactions with him, he seemed like a great guy, and that he always wanted to make sure that the X-Wing players were taken care of. And we here at GSP just wanted to take a moment to send our condolences to anybody who knew him. And out of respect for our X-Wing brethren and the work he did in X-Wing, even though it didn't affect us directly too much, minus our one trip to Poland, I would like to give him a moment of silence as a sign of respect. So for those of you who remembered him and did know him, take the time to go ahead and just reflect on what he meant to you. And for those of us who didn't know him, we can simply use the time to reflect on those people who, even though we see, you see everybody that you know in X-Wing, every week, and you assume that you're always going to see them, just you don't always know if somebody's going to be there. And him passing away at 43 just gives you the opportunity to really reflect on that. So we're just going to go ahead and take a moment of silence. All right, Vince, you will be missed, my friend. And, the European community, our heart goes out to you. Bam. There it is. All right, so our last event this past weekend, I was at the Barons Team Championship streaming. Thank you to everybody who did watch, and shout out to everybody who I met there. And thank you to Andrew and Holly for letting me stay in their house. Guys, I got to see the Curled Paw creatives, where all the magic happens. It was pretty cool. There were literally tokens everywhere.
Was it like going to Santa's workshop?
Basically. Or more like a sweatshop.
Oh.
Yeah.
Fair question.
No, it was, it was it's a big room. It's a big room for sure. But you literally could close your eyes, bend down, and reach on the floor, and you would find a token. It was like a claw game. You just see what you find.
It's like for Family Guy. Ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of acrylic. Ooh, piece of acrylic.
Exactly. Exactly. So it was pretty cool. Some other news, and if you guys didn't realize, yesterday we had the return of Echo Base. Just between the three of them, they just had been a little bit busy, and they're back. All right, so Sunday nights, tune in to Echo Base. That is Jake, Paul, Jake, that's funny. It's not like I said Jake Paul. Jake, Kevin, and Paul. We'll separate them there. Breaking down X-Wing recordings and talking about strategy and just all the things X-Wing, which is all super fun. This Wednesday, if you guys didn't see on the weight screen, is our Hot Shots and Aces Part 1 for League Night. We've been featuring different ships, and this time Marcel had the idea. It's like, why don't we just check out the pilots and the stuff in that pack, really flex some of those cards and pilots. So that's the plan. And our next live event stream is going to be March 14th and 15th at Cray Cup. If you looked at our recent, if you looked recently at our events sheet, you may have also seen that this Sunday we were going to stream a store championship at GameStorm. But I decided over the weekend that because I'm actually signed up to play, that I'm actually going to take the day to play. Okay, going to take the day to play. And we're not going to stream that day because I also promised my wife, because we do have a lot of events coming up, that basically if I'm in it to win it. If I can't win, I got to go. Got to come home.
The league leader, get to your head, Mr. Undefeated.
Get him. Get him.
Yeah. Should I even show up at this point? Like, I mean, you're going to be there.
I mean, if you want to lay down your sword when we play, feel free. I mean, I'm telling you, like, I'm literally, as soon as I can't win, I got to go. I gotta go home. I gotta drive home. So if I go 0-2, I'm dropping. Well, that's the plan there. What were you gonna say?
I mean, do you know how they're? Well, we'll find out. I was gonna say I don't know how they're gonna do it because Springfield, we were at Springfield, actually went 2-2, a very mediocre 2-2. But I guess I had the best 2-2 MOV, so I ended up being able to get past to the top cut so Matt Carey can slap me around one more time. So you never know. You might go 0-2, and depending if it's small enough, you still
yeah, of course. That's what I meant. Like if I can make the cut, then we'll see. I think they have 32 players. I'm not sure what kind of cut they're gonna make, but anyway. That's the plan. One thing I was debating, no promises. I was debating bringing like a camera to record my personal games and make some type of video about the day. Does that sound entertaining? Does that sound
like a video blog?
Kind of. Yeah, but like, so being able to go back in post and talk about the game, how things happened here, I don't know. It was just kind of an idea I had. It only would require one camera. I wouldn't bring like a dice camera or anything like that.
Yeah. No, actually, I think it would be a really cool idea, and maybe you can check out the chat as well. But to do like one of those, what do they call them? Like a vlog, but like one of those day in the life blogs. Mm-hmm. We talk about like how do you prep for a tournament, and we, even though this is more of a smallish tournament, it's just like a small store, not a store kit, small store championship. Posted as like last week we talked about like how do you prep, what do you do before the tournament, middle of the tournament, after the tournament, and you can just like document it and say, hey, I'm waking up in the morning, I'm having a good breakfast because blah 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 blah, if you have a breakfast, and
always
just talk about like your pre-matchups and after matchups and things like that. I think that'd be kind of interesting.
So I like Rebel Mando's recommendation to say GoPro at Dion, and I think that should literally just be you putting a GoPro with a strap on your forehead, first person perspective it the entire day.
We don't own a GoPro. I guess all the equipment we own, we actually don't even own one in the inventory. We don't have one. Nope.
I feel like that's a missed opportunity, man. We can have first person perspective of us playing games.
I'll put it in a budget proposal. All right. Well, actually, it was perfect that you tuned in, Ryan. You said you got an email from Yeti Games. I know some kind of like not quite news, but like some hope. There's light maybe at the end of the tunnel for people who are on the wait list. What's going on there?
Yeah. So for people who don't know, I'm currently on the wait list, and I've been that way since about mid-January for Adepticon. Which was about the time when everyone was freaking out like, oh man, it's already like sold out. And it was only like mid to late January, which means there were like 2 more months to the whole event. I basically asked Yeti Games for an update and to see if they were either going to make more space or have a day 1A, day 1B, like previous Adepticons have had. No current updates right at this time, but they're hoping to hear something good soon.
Cross the fingers.
They are actively working on solutions, which is better than not knowing what's going on. So I appreciated their response.
Fantastic. So yeah, I think Yeti Games realized they made a little bit of an oopsie, and we'll see what happens. But we're gonna jump into our first topic right here, or our main topic today. And it actually stemmed from something that somebody submitted in Question of the Week that basically tied in perfectly with what we were talking about last week, about setting goals and finding success at the different levels of play. I'm just going to go ahead and read the question verbatim, and we can just kind of start unpacking it. This is very much an opinion piece, right? There's no facts here. This is just kind of what we think personally. So the question it came from Rave205. It said, so I've been playing for 2 years now, and I seem to always be just on the cusp of making the cuts, but just can't seem to get over the hump. What do you guys suggest to help me get past this bump? So I would guess that this player, he's in that middle bracket that we talked about last year, and last episode, and they're trying to break through the ceiling, trying to get into that cut, and I know I took notes here on kind of what what some of my thoughts, and I want to open it up to you guys first, and just kind of what comes to mind for you, or maybe let's actually direct us in a different way. All of us have had this moment, right, where we're trying to get better. We're trying to break that ceiling. How did you do it? What happened? Did it just happen? Like, let's be open and honest about it. Like, when did you notice that change going from a mid-tier player to someone who is able to make cuts? Anybody who wants to jump in first?
I'll start. And for me, it was so I started playing when Force Awakens came out. So I don't even know when is that, like 2016, I think. Like the Christmas of 2015 going into 2016, I think that's when it was. And I'm very competitive, if you guys don't know already. That's why I hate Dion's dice box, because how competitive I am. I just don't like losing. Even at home, me and Kayla get into like we really go at it. We don't take it easy on each other. Anyway, so in that first store championship season was started like January, which was like right away. I'm like, I went to a couple of them and got beat. The first one pretty bad, and then the second one I got a couple games in, and then the third one I made the cut and lost. And really, the thing that to me I thought made the difference was losing and getting upset about losing, or losing and beating myself up like, oh man, I'm not good at this game, and switching it to losing and learning something about what I did wrong to lose. And even sometimes when it's variance, like this past weekend, for example, right? I went 2-3. I went 2-2, and then luckily made the cut with MOV, and then lost to Matt Carey in the cut. But thinking critically, like I got diced horribly versus Matt. Like Matt was flying 2 B wings, and I was flying 4 jump masters. So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna chew these things up. But he had 10 numb fell, just evading everything. But there's something to learn from it, because I obviously lost 2 other games on top of that as well. It's not like I was going through the field and then just got diced out, luckily. But what I learned, like, it really is, okay, if you make the right moves and you make everything right, and variance just happens to get you more than, like, if you lose to variance 2-3 times in a round, you're not unlucky. What you are is you have a list that doesn't know how to make up for lack in variance. Like, so when you have that variance, your list isn't equipped to be able to come back from that. And that's what I learned from that. That's why lists like Boba Fett are so good, because they don't, or lists with and the forests are so good because they have ways to mitigate the bad variance. If you have bad variance, if you roll bad, you got fearless, you got rerolls, you got force, you've got Concordia. You've got ways to mitigate that bad variance. So being able to really know did I lose because my list is not good and doesn't know how to come back from a bad variance, or did I lose because I made the wrong choices, made the wrong maneuvers? Same thing going back to like Worlds in that streamed match against Doug and Howard. I know why I lost. I lost because I tried to get cute instead of going for the optimal move and just chasing and killing his red line. I tried to get cute and turn around and kill Sunterfell. And variance had nothing to do with it. Yeah, I rolled 2 crits against myself, and people would be like, "Oh, I lost a bad variance." How can you roll 2 crits over a cloud to yourself? True, but I put myself in the position to be in that to roll those. I mean, I didn't have to roll those if I just did the smart move and kept chasing red line versus trying to turn back around to go at Sunterfell. So it's being able to I think that's what really turned the corner, is just being able to distinguish why I lost and learn something from losing. If I lost because I have a bad list, switch the list. If I lost because I have a good list but it has a weakness, cover that weakness. If I lost because I made bad choices, make better choices going forward. And outside of that, I think it's just practice. The more you play, the more you get better. But if you're just playing and you're not learning from your mistakes, you're going to keep playing and playing and playing and playing and playing and just never get better.
Cool. Who's up next?
I can go. So I think I started around the same time as Marcel, but I think he got into competitive much faster than I did. I only started ramping up my desire to be better in competitive X-Wing I think the last Chicago Regional for first edition, and in that one Will was one of the gatekeepers I ran into. I had run Dash Poe in that. Dash was one of the ships I grasped onto early on when I played X-Wing. Like literally the first list I ever played was two B-Wings and Dash. And then when I was trying to be more competitive, I did look to see what were competitive lists that people were having success with, and picking ones that not just were flat out like the best. Poe and Dash were good, but I wanted to pick something that I would also enjoy. I have a strong feeling if you don't enjoy and have fun with a list or the triggers associated with that list to accomplish a certain goal, you're less likely going to remember those triggers or remember these cool abilities and moves that it's designed to do. My first experience, well, not first, but like going really hard into like actually traveling and everything. So I went to the Chicago Regional. I started 4-0 and I felt really good, but kind of all encapsulated into one instead of multiple events like Marcel. I ran into Will and he beat me. And then I ran into Nick Tobin, who beat me and kept me just out of the cut. And I learned from those games, just more on positioning, more on better things I could have done, shot selection, all the above, right? That was the first time that I had ever faced a Strezra, and that was something Dash was super not happy with. And also keeping an eye out on, especially as new metas emerge, I had talked with many people during the event to see what were things they were on, what was being successful. In that event in Chicago, Jeremy Trad got second place with a very early version of what would be your Ghost Fens. At that point, it was Kanan Fen. And then by the time the Indiana Regional rolled around later in that year, it had evolved, and what I think was one of the things that put me over the edge was taking a hard look at streamed games of successful uses of certain lists that I was highly considering take new events. The Arizona System Open that Steven Gonzalez won with the kind of final form version that he called Raptor Attack, that at Indiana I called Spectre 7. I watched his game because I was very cagey with the list originally. He was really aggressive and had an opening that really pushed his advantages against the opponent. And I learned and took that into consideration. And I think that helped me in a lot of my matchups to just be aggressive, put this new big powerhouse in front of my opponent and say, you have to deal with this. And that, eventually I was initially only bringing that list just to say, okay, I'm bringing this. If I'm successful with it, cool. But I'm really just trying to find out how to beat this because this is probably going to be the new hotness. And I ended up winning the whole event, not all my games. So I, had a couple ideas of things that could beat it. But overall, it was, take the time, use the resources that are out there, whether it's List Fortress, Gold Squadron podcasts, both streaming live and the YouTube vids, and your friends around you and people you meet that are new. Learning is a big part of X-Wing no matter which way you get it, whether it's data points, whether it's games that you watch for film later, or whether it's learning from other people. And see how you can adapt it yourself. And definitely take the time, if you're trying to learn how to fly a certain list or a certain pilot, find games online and watch how people fly them. A lot of people do a lot of theory crafting in their head, and a lot of times it may not pan out that way, or there's a wrinkle they didn't see that someone else solved already. So watch film. That's probably my biggest recommendation.
All right, Will, tell us about your journey.
You know what? The first cut I ever made was with the Stress Y-Wing, the BTL, right when Most Wanted came out. And that's honestly what had gotten. I was running an early version of like Easy Rebels, things like old school fire control system B-wings, where they would just get free stuff and it basically you didn't really need actions. You just need to point your guns in the right direction, which kind of simplified down like the decision trees, that I could have a more basic plan that I can stick with, because I realized really early on that I couldn't recognize the ace lanes, like how to what a boost and barrel roll and how to like bounce between different asteroid lanes. I realized that I was much better at like tight formations and getting my ships to not bump or be able to like change their arcs in a specific way. That with my love of debuffing, which I think like ions and stresses, I guess it ended up being TLT later on, and eventually the stress row. So actually, what was the droid now? Oh man, it's been so long.
R3A2.
R3A2. Oh man, that guy, that little guy got me into a lot of cuts. So it's like they were saying, I liked that mechanic, so I was always excited to use it, and it made me excited to find the different ways of learning that specific thing that I did want to use, and I did thought that I understood the best. There's a lot of different archetypes, and so once I found mine, which is basically like tanky rebels, seems to be not only what I started with, like have the most experience with, right? That's the other thing, is that like you'll very rarely will you go to a tournament with like the list you theory crafted the night before, be like, oh, this will be the meta or whatever. A lot of the times it is just like the ships you have the most practice with, the ships that you understand the most. Those are the kind of ships that are going to get you the kind of like 5th and 6th game consistency you're trying to achieve, because you need to get So what would most cuts be, guys? Like 4-1.
I mean, depends on the size of the event. So most, like, if it's large enough, 4-2s can make it. But you generally want to try, and if you have only one loss, that's where you want to aim for.
But it's like going over that 66% though, right? Getting like 3 out of 4, things like that. And that's you're gonna lose those games more often than not. Like you said, it was gatekeeping, Ryan, which I think is a great term. It's on point for how the tournaments go. That you will eventually face a list that you might not know how to play against, and you just need to understand your list better. That's what I would. My biggest recommendation is just practice something that you like, and just fly it as much as you can. Because bouncing around isn't going to help you. Flying like new lists every tournament, not the best way to go.
Yeah, having that consistency. So as for myself, I know personally I have trouble. I know I used to play in competitive events, but I have a hard time remembering. I don't remember. I guess the last one I played was in Poland, but before that, like that wasn't planned. But the last event that I actually planned on playing in, I don't even remember what it was. So, not. I'm sorry, I can't recall my journey because.
But you can remember your first ones.
I mean.
Yeah, like how it originally, because I know, especially during that store championship run where we both were like chasing it, and we'd get to like the top 4, top 2, and we just kept on. That one year, I forgot which year it was, but that we went to a bunch, and and then finally you ended up racking like 4 or 5 of them.
I did.
Yeah, Mr. Boss.
I got 3 that year. 1, 2.
Oh, look at you.
There's the third one over here somewhere. There it is, 3.
Eat that, Ryan Farmer.
So I made some notes here. I'm going to kind of give you my thought process of how I kind of look at competitive games, specifically, of course, X-Wing. And Marcel hit on it earlier. I think you have to identify what are you bad at. And I find that as a teacher, like the teaching side of me sees a lot of people out there who are not good at doing this. They're not good at self-reflection. They usually will be able to identify issues on the outside of them that may have caused them issues in the game. Of course, their opponent's strategy and things like that. But there's a lot of difficulty looking on the inside and figuring out what you could have done better. Just being able to identify those weaknesses in your game. And then being able to find, like, what are the mistakes that are losing you your game. So one issue that I have, and you see me do it on League Night pretty often, because most of the time for League Night, I'm just there to have a good time, and I'm bringing lists to entertain you guys, and making choices that are suboptimal at times. I will say that this year, this season, excuse me, I'm not playing this way. I'm playing for keeps right now. But like I make a lot of like, hey, if this works out, this would be really cool, and if it doesn't, which it probably won't, I'm gonna lose the game or be in a bad spot. You guys, if you remember, I think it was 2 seasons ago, I had like a losing. I was like 0-11, like it was really bad for a while because I just did a bunch of those. I was like, let's go for the Hail Mary. A lot of them didn't work, and once you've identified what those things are, whether it's over aggression in the game, or you think that your list does X well and it turns out that it doesn't. There's always that joke when 2 lists joust, one of them's wrong. Who is it? Be able to identify that, and then on top of all this, can you look past the dice? Because yes, sometimes variance happens, and I think once you can identify the mistakes that you make consistently, you can then identify when dice actually cause you to lose a game. But there are so many people that complain about dice first before looking at themselves. I have commented so many games where there have been players that have made bad choices and expected the dice to bail them out, as opposed to put themselves in a good spot and then the dice fail them. That is much, much rarer. So, just being able to do that. And then once you figure out what your weaknesses are, you got to figure out what are your strengths. What are you good at? The guys already talked about being able to identify either a play style or a type of list that works well with you. What gets you excited? What are you going to be able to remember? And then going on to lists. All three of them talked about some type of list that kind of made it click for them. And I think that if you're trying to be in that competitive tier, the reality is that you need to either find or use what we know is competitive already in order to be successful. Now, I will admit there are some people who are really good at finding those lists that are going to be meta lists, but the reality is that majority of us are not list geniuses. We're not going to find that thing that is going to break the meta. It's just the numbers say that most of us are not doing that. So, identify, like, if you're trying to be a list snowflake, which isn't a bad thing, by the way, okay? Like, if that is fun for you, do it. But on the other side, if you're a list snowflake, you have the territory that comes with that is that you might be bringing something that's suboptimal, and that might not necessarily put you in the best situation to win. Now, you might still win. It happens. You could be crazy like Blair Bunky and bring the weird list that makes the cut or whatever like that. But again, the majority of us are not that. In games, being able to identify your win condition. I find that this is something that a lot of people are also bad at, because I feel that the win condition can change depending on, like, it's not, obviously it's kill your opponent's ships, right? Duh. But how are you going to get there? And it really depends on what you're playing against. Can you identify the ship that it's easier to take out? Can you be able to translate what your opponent's strategy is going to be? Do you know what your bad matchups are? What are your good matchups and why they are those things? And this comes down to practice. And how are you practicing X-Wing? Now, I will say that there are lots of different ways to practice. I think the most obvious is just reps, right? Which you guys already talked about. It's just play your list, play the game so that you know what to do. Right? We've talked about being able to eyeball maneuvers. And again, what you practice should be, going back to the first point, what are you bad at? Practice what you're bad at. I find that, and I find this in when I'm teaching music, when I'm tutoring English or math as well at the school. It's kids and just people, not even just kids. People will start, like, let's say they're bad at whatever the thing is. They're bad at being able to visualize 4Ks. We'll just kind of put an example out there. But they practice 3Ks. That's a ridiculous example. But a lot of times people don't start where the problem is if they're trying to get better at something. You need to start at the problem. Work on the problem first. Work on the thing that is difficult. The thing that you're having trouble with before you work on all the stuff. Like, I know it feels good to do what you already know. But work on what you don't. Work on what you don't know. And then also, to Rave 205, you have to ask yourself, how often do you play? Now, I will say that there's kind of like a ceiling that I've seen with players. So, for instance, Andrew Knuckles is a great example. He is a really good player. Okay, he's a really good player who doesn't play too often. He only plays at tournaments. He just, with his time and his schedule, he can't play at League Night. So, on average, people are getting, in a month, we call it 8 more games a month than Andrew Knuckles is. But you might not be as good as him because of an X factor. And this is what I want to talk about, this part. And I think that this is where some people might start to get a little, I don't want to say offended, but start to worry a little bit about this topic. But really hear me out here. It's a reality that some people are just better than you at something. Whether it might be some aspect of the game, like for instance, and I'm just being completely honest. I consider myself an intelligent person, but I know players who I've played against or who I might play against in the future who are just smarter than me. Like the X person has a sharper mind, a better tactical mind than I do. So, I mean, there's just a reality that sometimes there are biological things in our brains that make it so that somebody's better than you. Now, you can overcome these things, all right? You can give yourself a chance by working harder and working smarter, doing all the things we talked about. You got to practice. You got to be able to identify your things. Now, I've talked about it many times. I lost 47 games of X-Wing before I won one, okay? And the only reason that happened is because I worked and worked and worked and worked, as opposed to somebody else who just jumps in the game and say, hey, I won my first game of X-Wing. I was like, oh, that was really easy for you, right? Different strokes for different folks. People work different ways. And just being able to reflect and identify in yourself, I just think is really important. Yeah. Or sometimes just bring a better list than somebody. That works too. Hey, listen, I know who I am. All right. And then we talked about it last week. Set realistic goals. So, for instance, if you're a person who doesn't have time to practice, which is the reality, doesn't have time to practice, you don't want to practice, or you don't want to fly meta lists and all that, or you don't want to cater your list to the meta, you don't want to do these things, and maybe you just want to have fun, and that's fine. But you have to have realistic goals. If you're not doing those things and you're not making cuts, you can't, like, don't be upset about not making cut when you can't or choose not to do the work that requires it for your person. Does that make sense? Did I communicate that clearly?
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's a good point. I mean, I think one of the good things about this channel and this podcast, as opposed to some other ones, is that you run a pretty, let's say, pretty friendly ship. In other words, it's friendly to everyone. We try to keep out of drama, but sometimes you've got to face music. Being a music teacher, you got to face the facts, and sometimes there's other people that do things better than you. And you either have to, like you said, work harder or work smarter. I know there's things that other people are better at me at. I am not as consistent as other players. I have high spikes and I have low spikes, and I know that. And sometimes those are based on whatever variables there are. I know that that there's other things other people do better than I do. So I have to make a conscious effort to overcome that. For example, somebody in the chat was saying earlier, counting points. That's I think one of my personal strengths is that I play aggressive, and I think everybody. I mean, you know that you've played against me enough to know that.
What?
That I am an aggressive player. Even if I'm flying at something that should probably be dancing around, I'm going to come in and roll dice instead of taking 4 or 5 rounds to come back around. And it works for me because it's persistent enough, it's strong enough, and it catches people off guard. And it works for me because I'm true to who I am, and I don't try to do something that's not me. However, because in doing so, one of the things that gets lost in the shuffle is I don't pay as much attention to a lot of the things that somebody who is more calculated would do, like mathematics. Is what's the likelihood of putting damage on something. Fenrau, like if I get a range 1 shot Fenrau, I'm like, yeah, let's take it. And then thinking like, wait, he rolled 4 dice plus a focus plus a free Concordia, just doing some of that. And more importantly is taking account for the points, like understanding like, okay, what is the actual win condition? What is the points? How many points does he have? If I run away with this one and attack with this one, and a lot of the time because of my my natural tendency to just be aggressive and try to always attack. And I know you've streamed a lot of my games where you're like, Marcel, what are you doing? Like, run away.
Put up the points, man.
Yeah, like you're winning on points, run away and close it out. And I end up coming in. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But somebody who is more calculated won't have that, because if they're ahead, they're just going to run away and have a better chance of winning. So just understand that there's always going to be somebody that does something better than you, whether it's consistency, whether it's persistence, whether it's keeping calm, whatever. There's always going to be people that do things better than you do, or you might even just be playing the game in general. Like, just what I think by that is like just naturally being like, some people sit down at blackjack and just win while everybody loses, and just sits down and, like, in one night, take everyone's money without a lot of practice. They're just natural at it. So you're just gonna have to accept some people are more natural at it than you are. That doesn't mean, like Dion said, you just give up, throw your hands up and go away. Find out what you're good at, what you're bad at, do more of what you're good at, and work on what you're bad at, and learn from the mistakes. Again, sometimes it is the dice, but you have to think critically and objectively before you can truly say, yeah, that was a dice game. Like, I'll tell you, like, yesterday, Sunday, was a dice game. But even knowing that was a dice game, I know it was a dice game. However, his list had ways to mitigate that dice because he had rerolls and everything else, even without actions. I didn't. So now I can say, like, okay, this list is suboptimal. I need to make changes. Instead of just saying, oh, okay, I got diced, so let me take the same list and play the same way next week and expect the same, and expect a different result. It's just not going to happen that way.
So one other thing that I think every newer or quote on the cusp player could probably work on. It's something that I didn't really catch on until, like, even a little bit past first edition, where I really started to recognize how to really read a game state. Not just your points, but positioning. So it's something as simple as if you're in the first turn or two of the game and you know that your opponent's list has any restrictions on their maneuvers, whether it's rocks, gas clouds, debris, or even their own ships. A lot of times some newer players don't realize that because of initiative order, if they're not all moving at the same time, or base sizes, sometimes their inside ships can restrict what the outside ships can do if they're flying in any sort of formation, or close enough to say, hey, this ship goes a little slower and this one's faster behind it. This ship can only do so many things, or otherwise they're splitting up or changing their trajectory. So you can look at yourself in that moment and say, can I take advantage of this? It doesn't need to be immediate where I'm putting myself in me like, I can attack this turn. We're probably too far away for that for the first turn or two. But can you get yourself to a better position that, because they can't do X move or two, like say they can't do a 2-turn or a 3-turn, can you punish them for not being able to do that by going around further, diving deeper into their flank and saying, because you didn't do that 2 or 3 turn, you're now 1 or 2 turns behind catching up to an optimal engagement with me. So reading an early board state can help you recognize where they're already behind or restricted, and can you take advantage of that? And then later on in the game, like Marcel mentioned, say you do have that mathematical odd shot where you really can't do much damage to Fen Rao. Like, you're at that range 1, he's got Concordia, he kept a focus. But you read the board state and you're like, if I don't do anything to this Fen now, or I'm down this far, you got to find out when you need to take the calculated risks.
Oh, yeah.
And go at them. So there are times where you have to push the normal math out. Know that there's probably a likely chance you're not going to get what you want, but that's what you need to do. But some people do risks too much or unnecessary. So it's recognizing when you need to do them. And it's not a hard and fast rule because it's 100% situational.
Absolutely.
So getting better at recognizing when to take those risks is really important, because yeah, you're maybe leaning into the variance a little bit, but you made that decision to do that. You're not just passively autopilot doing that all the time. You're consciously making that choice.
Yeah. And you talked about the score not necessarily always telling you what's going on. There are situations, and we've talked about it if you've watched on stream before, where it's like, all right, X person is currently ahead on points, but they're most likely going to lose this game, and here's why. And it's either board position, or they got a bunch of ships at one hull, and sometimes the score just doesn't tell you the entire story. And I love how you talked about just being able to you got to know when to take those risks and what those are, because sometimes you need that Hail Mary. You got to know when to take those for sure.
Mm-hmm. Know when to take the risks and learn when you can take advantage of your opponent being restricted on the board at any time.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's that topic for today. Before we go into our questions of the week, which actually they're basically like subtopics, but they're really, really good, and I want to talk about them here. We have our X-Wing meme of the week. All right. I think this is going to be a thing. I know those of you who can't who can't watch and are only listening, we'll do our best to paint you a picture with our words. But after we did it last week, the meme game went like through the roof. Like, it was much better. Much better. This was by far the best one in there. So we'll go ahead and flip to that. It's right here. So if you haven't seen this poster, it's quite fantastic. I forgot what the name of the movie is, but it's Ryan Reynolds. And he's just looking all happy. The world is exploding around him, and it says, "Me going to play X-Wing with the boys." And then you see all around him all these horrible things happening. You got governmental conspiracies, half the world on fire, the literal end of days, riots and protests in the streets, all the things. And you know what? When we play X-Wing, everything's okay. It's fantastic.
I let me go 0-2 drop, and then that's an extra explosion.
Sure, yeah. O2 drop. We can add that, right here on that person in the corner.
But honestly, yeah, I like this one a lot. So I saw it. I don't know who posted it, but yeah, I saw it, and I mean, and it's true. I mean, we worry about so many things, and it just changes. Let's get real for a minute. So in October, I lost my job, and I didn't know if I was going to work again, right? I mean, I knew I was going to work again, but I didn't know like the future, how everything was going to play out.
Right.
And so it's a lot of stress. But went to Worlds like 1 week later. Went to Worlds, and that was me right there. Like, things like I'm just going to go play with the boys, and had a great time. Ended up jumping in a pool with a bunch of Polish people and went to a bar soaking wet, and it was wonderful, right? And the world does what the world does, and then you get back on your feet, and everything goes, everything the way it's supposed to be again, or sometimes whatever it is. But yeah, I mean, I think that's great, and I think the main reason this makes sense is just because of how great and how tight that X-Wing community is. Because you can travel around the country. It's not you're just not when you're talking about let's go play with the boys. You're not talking about let's go play with the boys that you hang out every day with or every week with around the corner.
Right.
Like I said, this weekend I drove 3 hours. Yesterday I drove 3 hours to play there, and I saw Matt Carey. I saw Barnacle. I saw Tyler Tippett. No matter where you go, you're gonna run into people, and if you don't know them now, the first time you play, you make friends with them. You can't help but make friends with them. So no matter where I go around the world, I know I'm gonna be playing with friends, and if I go somewhere where I don't know anyone, by the end of the night when it's time to go have dinner and have a beer, I'm hanging out with friends. And
Right.
I think that's a very unique thing to X-Wing versus some of the other communities that that have traveling tournaments and stuff like that. So
Absolutely. I mean, I know for me, Wednesday night X-Wing is like, I love that it's in the middle of the week because I need that, like, that rest. It's like we made it. It's Wednesday. Relax, play some games, and just not have to worry about anything. Just play. Just play. It's awesome. All right. We'll move on to some more questions now. Thank you for your submissions. Go ahead. Make sure you submit on our Discord. Anybody can join. !Discord, or find the link in the description. All righty, boys. So, a question comes from Dr. Weston. And I'm going to kind of abbreviate what he said. It's a pretty long question. And basically, he's a little frustrated right now. Basically, the first half of the year has been all hyperspace events, majority of them. And he's worried about extended. He's like, where is extended? Why is it that it's so divided? Because basically, we do have extended events coming. All the Grand Championships are extended. The North American and European Championships are extended. The Prime Championships are extended, and the second set of Store Championships are also, or can be, extended. So there's basically the year being cut in half between hyperspace and extended. I think maybe in the future we might get it more spread out. I know you were saying earlier, Marcel, that you're kind of you're ready for hyperspace to kind of step aside, right?
yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying it, actually. I do enjoy it, but I've noticed that everything that I've done in this past month and a half has been all hyperspace. And some of my other ships, like I've been wanting to play the VCX because the VCX got a little love, and it just looks like that. It feels like my mind has been overtaken by Boba Fett. It's like, how do I beat Boba Fett? Where in extended, there's a host of other boogeyman out there, to the point where when we're looking at the list of the week,
Mm-hmm.
and I know we're gonna go over them later, but I saw one of them said extended. I'm like, who cares about extended? I want to win a Adepticon. Like, get that junk out of here.
Got him.
But yeah, it's not that I know I was hating on it earlier. Not that I don't enjoy hyperspace. I think it's a good format, but definitely all of the official events are hyperspace format for a long period of time. Because the next non-hyperspace is when that we, at least currently on the schedule, is Gen Con, I think. So
Yeah.
that's like almost 6 months of only hyperspace. So I think that's my only gripe on it right now is I do enjoy hyperspace. It's just not enough variation in the official tournament circuit.
Cool.
So, I mean, would you rather, because I guess a devil's advocate side of things, they have sort of a season of hyperspace, right? Leading through, going through all the system opens. So anyone playing competitively can focus on one format and not feeling like they have to like play a list for extended, play a list for hyperspace, back and forth week after week, week after week, to try and make sure they're sharp with both lists at the same time. And then, so instead of having to do that, they could just focus on only hyperspace. And then towards the summer, when we get primes, continentals, grands, and then leading up to worlds, that's sort of like the extended half of the year. And that allows people to focus more on extended, or at least focus on one type of format to prepare for. So I just see that as like a positive of the current state, though. Not just because, yeah, sure, I do really like hyperspace, but I might feel the similar way to what was it? You said Dr. Weston mentioned, when extended season comes around. I might be like, well, I missed the hyperspace events, but I understand that this time of year might just be extended as it's designed to lead up to Worlds.
Good points. Good points. I wonder if FFG would be willing to rotate hyperspace sooner than points change. I could see maybe does that. I mean, maybe it doesn't even fit with the scheduling of events. But I mean, I wonder if that would give a little more sparkle.
They talked about that in their last. They talked about it in their last cast, or in one of their last casts about it, and they said that the release schedule, because of the new ships, the new waves, and things like that coming out, that was the shakeup of the hyperspace, because it would have new things coming out, and they're all automatically hyperspace legal as soon as they're released. Everything that's released during that cycle is hyperspace legal. And I can see that, because I mean, if you got let's say, you get three new ships, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of those ships is give me a faction that's coming out next.
The first order shuttle.
Okay, so first order shuttle.
Shuttle.
The first order ship that's coming out. Actually, that's a bad example. Let's say something comes out for scum. In hyperspace, that's about 20% of your scum choices. And extended, that's like 5% of your scum choices, or 6% of your scum choices. So the new content and the new releases make a bigger impact, or a bigger splash to the hyperspace meta than it would to the extended meta. So there is more of a shakeup. Now the question is, do they keep the release schedule on schedule and release, they're supposed to release in April or whenever they're supposed to release? Does that stay on target, or do we go back to the on the boat for 6 months? The boat has a red stop and Hera crew equipped, and then we'll get it like 8 months later.
Someday, hopefully, they can get that all sorted out. Like, honestly, we don't have a perfect answer to it. It's just an interesting discussion point that Dr. Weston wanted us to bring up. And, sometimes, and it seems like for him, one of the issues, it's a geography issue. That the big issue, like the grand championships are just not available to him. And the events that are available are the hyperspace ones. So, I mean, I guess our best suggestion would be like, I know it stinks, and I know you want to play your gunboats and Star Vipers and your VCXs and whatever other ships that are extended only that you want to play. But the second half of the year hopefully should hold some of those extended store championships level stuff for you, and hopefully it works out. So the next question, I actually found this one really interesting because it could be a hot button, and I think I'm looking for hot takes. And Will, you're going to take this one first. Are you ready? Are you ready, Will?
I'm ready.
Okay. So, Davin Felth, a.k.a. Justin Brown, asks, what do you do in a tournament setting if you ask for the points of a ship? So let's say of the list, right? How many points are your ships? And you're writing them down. And your opponent tells you the wrong numbers. And you're making decisions during the game with incorrect information. You get to the end. What do you do? They didn't have a paper list. They just told you the numbers, but they told you wrong. This got tense. I know. First thing happened, tension up in the air.
My hot take is gonna be, you should have counted them yourself. I think that's on you. I don't think that's points are public knowledge.
True.
Now, should your opponent get points? I don't know. Talk to a judge about that. Like, you know what I mean. But yeah, as far as you not knowing the right numbers, unfortunately, you might have to look them up yourself. People like Launchbay, because it tells you like half points and stuff. I don't really use it. I'm too obsessed with Yasby. But
I like it for tournaments.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so it is helpful. Be more diligent if we were talking about getting over the hump, right? Like that's the way to do it. Be more diligent. Take more notes. Keep more logs. Know more details. So this doesn't occur.
Yeah, so you were talking about launch base. So here, I know this is bootleg, but there's no way to get it quickly on the computer.
Bootleg.
Okay, but so in their app, you actually can you create a tournament in your phone. You pick one of your lists. Okay, so we'll just pick a random list here. Okay, and we register it. Oh, here we got it. How to name it? Blah blah blah. Okay. And here, what you're doing is for each round, you are adding your opponent's list. And if they have a paper version and a QR code, you can go ahead and you have all the points here, and you can calculate them yourself as you go, because it has actually a really nice half points calculator, which if you haven't seen it, it's actually amazing. So you click on calculator in your list, so they show all the pilots here. And that should focus at some point. All right. And then as you click them, half points or double click for dead, it gives you the number of points destroyed right there. So it's easy for you to communicate your points to your opponent, but also you can vice versa. You can look up your own. And I know that some people might quote the no note taking, notes in the I think it's the tournament rules. Nobody cares. If somebody calls you out for keeping track of points, no judge is going to be like, you can't keep track of points. I guarantee you, okay, if you're at a premier level event, you are fine. You can take down your opponent's list, you write them down, you're going to be fine. So,
and then you laugh at them.
And then you laugh at them for calling a judge on you for writing down points?
No, even before calling a judge. Just by saying, oh, you can't count my points. Like,
what?
You laugh. You exactly like that. That exact laugh. You get the Dion laugh, and then you take out your notepad and you write it down. But yeah, do that. Don't even wait till till the end of the game. Do that before when you're when you're setting up your rocks and doing all that stuff. Write it down. I forgot which tournament it was. A couple of the system opens. I think they were system opens. They had us do that where you literally wrote down, that was a requirement. You wrote down your ships. You didn't write the upgrades or anything, just the name of the ship, the point, and the half point, and just easy math. And it was required. You had to keep it in a little whatever the
little note card.
Yeah, a little note card, and you had to keep it with you. I mean, that was a requirement for each match.
Now, here's something that I do. I actually have this notebook right here on my desk. But I write things like this. So you have this is actually a first edition game here, but it's the first page. But just write it down. How many points is each thing? And as I killed them, I was marking them off, and it helped me understand, what were my win conditions in that game.
I can tell you exactly when you wrote that down.
This was
the quick draw and new.
This is Indiana Regionals, right?
That was that store championship that you went all ham on everyone and won them all, because I know you were on the quick draw new thing, and I remember how you set them up.
Oh, it was Kylo. That was against Steve Martin. This was Indiana. I am fairly certain because I barely lost this game. Yeah, quick draw triple new.
Oh, okay. So the one that you won a lot with was Kylo
and 2 gunboats.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I did go ham on everybody with that list. It was hilarious. Anyway.
What do you say? Guns on the chat? Or I don't even know what
gunboats in the chat.
There you go. And that's why.
That's where that was born.
In the chat. Yeah, there you go.
So I guess to directly in a way answer the specific question. So yeah, overall we should be keeping score, and it shouldn't be something that's frowned upon by any means. But in this specific instance, so while I do agree with Will, it is worth the time, whether you do it quickly with Launch Bay Next or just quickly input it into your own YASB link. It can be pretty fast if you can get it in. but there is, in I believe the floor rules or term regulations, that it is up to both players to keep a truthful state of the game between each other. Obviously, the question that becomes, was it accidental? Was it malicious? Well, you're never going to get that answer from the person. So for the player that got the wrong information, it is in their best interest to call a judge and let them rule as however they want. I'm not going to say how the judge should rule, but it is worth calling a judge for and explaining the whole situation and making sure that it is brought to their attention either way. It is onus on both players to uphold the simple information of stats, and if it's information that are supposed to be available to both players, it is something that no one can just straight up say a lie or ideally accidentally misinform.
Oops, I accidentally muted myself. Well, hopefully that helped. Hopefully that answered your question, Justin.
Yeah, you're muted.
Yeah, I fixed it already. It's list of the week time. It's list of the week time. We got 4 lists here. 3 of them we have Will, Marcel, and Ryan going to take. And then the last one is actually a brand new player, someone who's only been playing for a couple weeks. And I put it as myself. I'm going to lead it, but I want us to really work on this together. And I find it interesting, the choices made by this player, and they made some decisions that it's like, man, I would have done that when I was a new player. We'll get there in a minute. We're going to go ahead and we'll start with Will, and we'll do a vote at the end of these 3 to see which one, those of you who are watching, which is your favorite list of the week. All righty. It is, we're going to start with our Imperial list. Will, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's go. So we start here. This list comes from Devil Rock Hardcore Kid. It says, "Hey guys, this is an extended list, and I like the idea of flying 4 Initiative 4 ships because I like some symmetry, and I tried to assign all 4 ships different roles. So we have Major Vermeil in the TIE Reaper with Darth Vader crew. Fifth Brother in the TIE V1 with a homing missile. Lieutenant Kestel in the TIE Aggressor. Yes, I did not misspeak there. That did say TIE Aggressor with ion cannon. And then Countdown in the Striker with a proton bomb and a hull upgrade for a total of 200 points. Take it away."
Okay, so there's a lot of things I really like about this list. I'm a big fan of Fifth Brother now, especially with the homing missile. Obviously, you got to bring the homing missile. It's so good. It's a very cheap, either 4 dice attack, or they could just take hit crit, which I'm totally fine with. So I love that piece, and I wish Castel was better, but honestly, he's so cheap. 36 points. I don't think that's unreasonable for what that ship does. I don't really know too much about Vermeil, especially the Darth Vader one. I know it's scary. I don't really want to see that. Yeah, I know. I mean, I think so. If that's what we're going with, I do think there's some utility there. But my favorite part about Darth Vader is that it works at range 0. So that's what we're going to work with, is kind of strengthening up Major Vermeil and Lieutenant Kestel, and then also Fifth Brother. As you know, so I didn't say anything about Countdown because I don't think that's good. I think bombs are cool, but Countdown, when he's using his ability, he's stressed, which means no ailerons. He's one banking, and I'm not interested in it. And I'm going to switch him out with a different 4. And that 4 is going to be Captain Kagi. That's a Lambda class shuttle. And because I like the title as well on him. ST321, so we can coordinate, you can get a target lock. That's just good action economy. I'll see if I'm following along with you got the title on there?
Yep.
So that leaves us with 2 points. Now, the main reason why I'm bringing in Kaji is because I think Kestel and Fifth Brother. Kestel doesn't have very much health. Fifth Brother also doesn't have very much health, even though he's got the Force and 3 agility. And Vermeil is a 1 agility ship. So, Kagi can help pull off locks as a defensive bonus. But we're going to try to combine out some things. I'm going to put Ruthless on Lieutenant Kestel. Ruthless is the Empire-only talent. While you perform an attack, you can choose another friendly ship at range 0 to 1 of the defender. If you do, that ship suffers the damage, and you may change one of your die results to a hit. And so, what I'm trying to accomplish here is you essentially get Major Vermeil to run into a ship. Then you ionize him with Kestel. Ionize the ship so it keeps running into Vermeil, and you keep Darth Vader and him doing automatic damage each round. Plus, you got Kaju, front arc and back arc in it, and another Ruthless target as well. It's really hard getting Kestel mods outside of Fifth Brother Gunner. So,
that's what the coordinates for, right?
Yeah, you can actually double coordinate now too, so you can get Fifth Brother and Kestel. Their locks a little bit easier. You can coordinate jams to Major Vermeil as well. And I think coordinating is the best when everybody's the same initiative, right? You can clear somebody's stress and coordinate them. The next round, you can coordinate them before a K turn. So, yeah, I'm going with actually Captain Kaji out there. And guess what? Captain Kaji probably is going to take more than 1 shot per round as well. So he's probably got about the same amount of survivability as Countdown.
Cool. Excellent. All right, so we end up with Vermeil, with Darth Vader. Basically, everything's unchanged until we get to Kestel, who gets Ruthless added, and then Captain Kagi with the title for 199 points. Got that initiative 4 bid deep. All right, our next list here will be done by Marcel, and it's a Scum hyperspace list that's been sent to us by MJ. He says, after seeing Eric Smith fully load out a Dengar at the Birmingham Barons Team Championship, which we streamed, recorded, and will be uploaded in the next week or so, I wanted to plan my very own hyperspace valid list, and nowhere near as loaded out, but I wanted to have 6 ships, so let me know what you guys think. So this is Dengar with only the punishing one, nothing else. Then Sarasu in the M3A with no upgrades, and 1, 2, 3, 4 cartel spacers. Those are the Initiative 1 M3A interceptors. Marcel, let's give this guy some magic.
All right. Well, let's start off by just acknowledging the fact that when you bring 6 ships, you're automatically in every game, regardless, especially when 5 of those 6 ships have 3 agility, and on top of that, they have the potential of re-rolling. So the list itself is not bad. It's not bad. You've got a ship that doesn't want to get shot at. You've got Sarasu, which is also, that's probably the one that people will target the most at first if they can, but it's still hard to kill it. And then you've got a lot of other ships on top of that. But I think there's improvements on it, especially considering the fact that he said, the inspiration behind this was a fully loaded Dengar, and he's got a naked Dengar. So let's make a couple changes. Now I'm going to, in the spirit of Marcel always breaking the rules and rebelling against anything you say, Dion, I'm going to break the rules, but I'm going to justify it with some weird logic, okay?
That's fine.
You good? All right, let's go. So you said we could only change one ship.
You could also delete a ship if you wanted to.
But we could change one ship. So that one ship is the cartel spacer times 4.
Okay, all right.
It's one ship.
Sure.
It's the same ship. And let's replace all 4 of those cartel spacers with naked mining guild TIE fighters. And basically what you're doing is with the mining guilds, you're paying for that extra shield, and you're paying for the potential of a hard point. But in this list, that's more than anything else, they're blockers. They got 2 dice, and they're just attack cushions, really, right? And you save 3 points in each. So now we are at, what are we at?
187. You got 13 points to work with.
All right, now we're talking. And 13 points is 1 point more than what you need for the autopilot drone. But FFG has a terrible sense of humor, and they made the autopilot drone illegal for the hyperspace format. So after we finished crying that we couldn't fit the autopilot drone in there thanks to FFG, hyperspace sucks. Let's build this up again. All right. Yeah, you've got 13 points to play with. So let's start with the most important thing that you want to have on Dengar, which is contraband cybernetic. You need contraband cybernetic because you have to have a way for Dengar to turn back around. Now, let's give something to Sarasu. Let's give him a tractor beam. He likes tractor beams. Now, one of the things that's really nice on Dengar, one of the good astromechs, I like regen on him a lot, the R2. But let's go with that R whatever. That gives them, it's 3 charges, and that gives them the reroll.
R5P8.
Is that what it's called?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yay. All right, and what are we at?
196. You got 4 left over.
Oh, that's more than enough. All right, 4 left over. We could still get some more toys in here. So some of the boogeymen that you're gonna run into in hyperspace is Boba Fett and Fen Rao. And what don't Boba Fett and Fen Rao like? They don't like dying. So how do we kill them? Let's put Fearless on Dengar. So there you go. If Fen Rao wants to say, punch me in the face, I'll hit you with 5 dice. You say, okay, I'll hit you with 8. And Fearless. Same thing for Boba. So,
Marcel, have you ever put Fearless on Dengar before?
oh yeah. People hate it. Nobody ever shoots them, but it triggers that one time.
Do you remember the ruling at Worlds?
All right. I hate you people. I FFG, did I say how much I hate you? Okay.
Can you fit expert handling for 4 points?
Yes, you can, but no, we don't. Want
So let's note here really quickly, just for anybody who's confused with what just happened. The Jump Master does not have a front arc weapon. It has a turret weapon.
All right. So
unless you give it a front arc weapon.
No, because Fearless is only on primary.
Never mind.
Double wrecked.
Moldy Crow would work, I guess. That's about all that you can do, though.
It just won't let me do it.
Wait, let's throw Moldy. Okay, let's put the autopilot back down there. Let's get the drone. All right. The
Marcel's floundering. He's floundering. Those lists of the weak points are going down. I can feel it.
No, this is still solid. So we've got a couple things that we can do here. You know what? Let's just keep it safe and go with a auto. Do we want to go with the auto blaster turret? You know what? Let's break this up. Right. We still don't like Boba Fett, right? And we still don't like Fen Rao. So let's get rid of that nasty little tractor beam. And let's move. Where are we? I'm trying to find the. Here we go. Let's put an advanced proton torpedo on Dengar. Oh,
All right, that
yeah.
brings you to 199.
There you go. Let me see how I like that. Nah, I don't like it.
What about Hotshot Gunner? Oh wait, no, that's probably not hyperspace, is it?
I
It's
don't
not
think it's
hyperspace.
hyperspace.
No.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
You,
Anyway,
you know what Fen doesn't like? He doesn't like crits, and he's stressed a lot. BT1 wouldn't be bad.
yeah, I was thinking about that. No, let's just go with let's keep it simple. Let's do let's put the tractor beam back on Sursu, because Sursu really likes that tractor beam. Tractor beam on 3 dice on Sursu is really good. And then on Dengar, let's just throw expert handling on there just to give her a little more mobility. I was also thinking like the auto blaster turret, but
I'm giggling because the chat's making fun of you.
they can make fun of it. Let me look at the chat. Who am I fighting? Let me see. Who are we fighting?
Fast Walk Zero was like, this is simple? You said it was going to be simple.
It was simple until FFG messed up my plans to put Fearless on Dengar.
All right, so after Marcel's changes, his final set of changes, it's Dengar with expert handling, contraband cybernetics, punishing 1, and R5P8, Sarasu with tractor beam, and 4 mining guild ties. The lowest initiative ones are the mining guild sentries for a total of 200 points.
And now, actually, I got a question since we're on here real quick. So the 3 points difference, right? Between the mining guild ties, and this is for all 3 of you.
Yeah.
You got the mining guild ties versus the
M3A.
There you go. There's a 3-point difference. The M3A's benefit is that they get an extra shield. So a shield upgrade on them is like 9 points. So that would be like a 31-point mining guild if you throw a shield upgrade on there, right?
Right.
However, the mining guild TIE fighters have the benefit of going over rocks and no consequences.
But I mean, kind of consequences, right? Like they can't stay there.
If they land on it, I mean, they can shoot through them. They just can't end their turn on top of them, or else they won't shoot.
Yeah, I mean, you can still barrel roll off the rock though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I actually like them better. And also, again, and in this particular case, they're just pin cushions. They're 3 points cheaper, and if you can get the 19-point separatists on here, I would have gone with those instead. Or if you can get 5 autopilot drones, I don't know why they just don't let me. That would be it.
All right. Well, let's move on. I'm sorry, Marcel. I don't think you're going to get very many votes today.
I don't think so either. But and all thanks to the hater. Who was that hater on here?
Fast Walk Zero.
Yeah, Fast Walk Zero. Thank you.
All right, and the last of the 3 this week. Before we help out our new player, as a separatist list comes from Trouble Kelp, and it says, I'm trying to make the Nantex work in hyperspace with Ensnare not being legal. So we have Darth Maul with heightened perception and tractor beam, Sunfac with no upgrades, Chertek with no upgrades, and then the Hyena class bomber, DBS 404 with the advanced proton torpedo sitting at 200 points.
So this is definitely a difficult task to accomplish, because without Ensnare, they cannot, as Nantex, be self-sufficient to get their abilities to work. With that in mind, I don't think it's worth having 2 of them, and especially the higher point cost of Sunfac. So one of the first things I'm doing is taking Sunfac out of the list, and just saying, if I'm going to try and make the Nantex work, I'm just going to do chair tech. Still very efficient. Can still, get the re-rolls, but I'm not investing a ton of points. And instead of Maul, we're going to do Dooku. And with all that freed up points, Dooku is going to gain Grievous Crew and the Scimitar title. And then with that space for some ships, we're going to make one of them, it's going to be 2 Vultures. Both of them are going to have struts. One of them is going to be DFS 311, and one of them is just going to stick to a base Trade Federation drone, but he's going to have Discord missiles. So you have 311 giving out the Calculate to whoever needs it, basically almost like a force charge for chair tech, which is pretty nice to keep chair tech defensive if necessary, with a singular focus modification, or double if he needs to do both for taking a focus action. You can pass the Calculate to DBS 404 if it lines up the Advanced Proton Torpedo. That way you at least have one focus mod. You probably want to keep the Trade Federation drone with Discord missiles near DBS 404. So for turns you're not using the Discord missile, you can still power up DBS 404 with the Calculate. And when you spend that force with Dooku to use heightened perception, you can, if he's going to take a lot of shots or he has a really good shot, you could send the Calculate over his way from 311. I find in most of these 4 or 5 ship separatist lists, having a 311 supporting those bigger pieces is really helpful, and we're not sinking too many points into one single trick anymore. We have only a portion of our list relying on the tractor beam to work, but still very helpful for the other ships to get into position as well.
All right, those were our 3 lists of the week, our competitive list-altering game here on Gold Squadron Podcast. So cast your votes now, people who are voting, as I read the final form of the list. So it was Count Dooku with Heightened Perception and Tractor Beam, General Grievous Crew and Scimitar, Chertek with nothing on them, DBS 404 with that Advanced Proton Torpedo, DFS 311 in the Vulture with just grappling struts, and then a Trade Federation drone with Discord missiles and grappling struts. Again, vote 1, 2, or 3 in the chat. 1 is a vote for Will, 2 is a vote for Marcel, and 3 is a vote for Ryan. All right, guys. So as you're voting,
How come we're not voting for you?
because mine we're all going to work on together. I'm not competing this week. Not in. Oops, breaking stuff. I want to work together on this upcoming list. We'll go ahead and leave. We're gonna leave. We're gonna leave the poll up for a little bit till we get 35-ish, somewhere around there votes, while we move on to the next list, the list that I want to help out a new player. So this came from Tantastic and said, "I'm new. Is this bad?" Essentially was the question that was posed. And Angel the Vent just saying he's scared of losing. You don't lose any games you don't play, right? some weird backward saying of that saying, backward version of that, I mean. All right, so it's an Imperial list that he sent us. Says the title is Vader's Inquisitive Navy 1. And it has 7th Sister in the TIE V1 with Hate, Fire Control, and Homing Missile. Darth Vader with Hate, Fire Control System, Homing Missile, and Afterburners. And then Merrick Steele in the Advanced with Composure, Fire Control System, Homing Missile, and Afterburners. So I look at this list right away and I say, like, wow, he filled every single slot with some cards that might be considered suboptimal for the build. Now, I'm going to kind of start stripping some pieces off. You guys yell at me if you think I'm going a little too crazy. Okay? Crazy. All right. Now, one of the first things I see there is Hate on 7th Sister. Okay? The ability on Hate says after you suffer 1 or more damage, you recover that many force. The thing is that Seven Sister only has 4 health, right? So if you're in a position where you're taking damage on Seven Sister, it worries me a little bit, so I'm just automatically just kind of stripping that off. Then with the fire control system, I know it'd be nice to have the make sure you got to make sure you get the target lock. You have the focus modifiers with the force, but I think what might be better than Seven Sister, we actually talked about it already, is if you can just switch it out to Fifth Brother. I think it's a better offensive piece. Will had mentioned that earlier. And I think right there, you could maybe get rid of fire control system, but we might be able to get another ship out of this here soon. But let's keep going. Vader on his own punches really, really hard. So I don't think there's any reason to have a homing missile for Vader. We're just going to get rid of that. This build in and of itself is pretty solid. But instead of fire control system, if you're trying to be a little bit more tricksy, I actually like where to go? Passive sensors. Here we go. Passive sensors on there. That way you can get that target lock guaranteed, even if you're moving first with Vader and being able to react with your force after that. Then you get to Merrick Steele, and I wonder, guys, do you think is there a different pilot or a better pilot we can get in here other than Merrick Steele? There's some issues with the upgrades here, but is there something else we could swap out rather than having Merrick?
Soontir fell.
There it is. All right. Now, I will say that for a new player, I have seen some players really struggle with getting Soontir on the table right away because they're trying to like joust with him, and you can-ish, but you got to be smart about it. Be a little tricksy there. Now
so let's say we were going for something a little safer for a new player. Do we stick with Soontir Fel, or do we go?
I would keep with Marine. I mean, like I was looking at, I think Dion had earlier on said something that made sense, which was fit a 4th ship on here. I think for a newer player, strength comes in numbers. So I think Marine Steel, but with nothing else but fire control system. He doesn't need homing missiles. He doesn't need anything else. And the Marik's ability is nice, and the initiative is nice more than anything else because he's got the ability for that. Darth Vader. Let me say what I had, and then you guys rip it up and change it, because I had Darth Vader with no hate and fire control system.
Passive sensors is just better.
Well, I'm just saying in this case, and then you guys can rip it up. So I had fire control system, no hate, and you don't even have to add it. So I had fire control system with no hate, and basically what that allows you to do is it gives you 31 points, so it lets you take another TIE Striker on there. So now you've got a TIE Striker, which is better than a TIE Fighter, at least at putting out damage and moving around. And that's like a flat 200 points. And it's pretty straightforward. I mean, it's for a new player, it's beefy and it's not overly complicated. So 2 TIE Advance with fire control system, a fifth brother with 2 damage, and then a TIE Striker with a 3-dice gun, just soaking up damage and blocking things.
I like the idea of getting a striker in there,
really,
but I can't get all the things.
I stripped out the Merrick for Rexler Breath. You can just fit him if you.
Oh, in the Defender.
Yeah, in the Defender. Strip. Put Rexler Breath in there instead of Merrick, and then strip everything down to just homing and fire control system. Because I think, Rexler Breath is like super user friendly. Like it's just 4Ks, free evades, focus evade every round, shoot at I5.
I like that. And then we have 4, 5, 6. That's one way to do it. Focus evade, good strategy. All right, real quickly here though, we're gonna shift over to our poll because I'm gonna go ahead and end it right there. will you win List of the Week?
Oh, Kagi?
That's
Nice.
right. Kagi takes the cake here. Ryan was one vote away from tying you, but it just didn't happen. Didn't happen.
Well,
So,
you tell me my fearless
Fearless taker.
didn't make it. Like,
hey, you
not-
got
not-
7 votes. You got 7 votes.
The not
Still.
so fearless Dengar.
yeah.
Wait, so that actually reminds me. You said I was the tiebreaker, but
Oh, for last week, yeah.
yes, for last week, I was looking through them, and wait, Dion, you didn't make the last list last week.
I wait, what? I did. I was there. I did a thing. Mine was
The Passive Tempest and Vizier Death Troopers.
that sounds right. Yeah. I think that was me. Yeah.
Are you
That was
sure?
mine. Yes.
Because that's what I chose actually. I wasn't even looking at the names.
Victory!
I never, man, I've been playing a lot of Tempest, and it never occurred to me to put passive sensors on them. Mind blown. What am I doing?
No joke, passive sensor tempests are a solid filler for hyperspace for people trying to find tools for Imperials.
Yeah. Oh man, I think it was in Texas. We were talking about a list that was just 4-tie advanced and fire control system.
Yep.
And like, I think everybody scoffed at that list, but honestly, I put it out on the board a couple of times, playing online. And if you just all get your locks the same round, and it's not like they can shoot at all of you, right? They can't shoot at everybody. And they're probably going to be shooting at Darth Vader anyways, so whatever. But yeah, I think there's some merit to that. I think we're overlooking that stuff.
You could do passive sensor Vader, 2 passive sensor Tempests, and Major Vermeil in hyperspace.
That seems fun.
That's a lot of passive sensors.
Ooh, so passive. All right, guys. Well, so rolling back here to our new player. So there are a couple of ideas for you. I actually really like that Will. You got Fifth Brother with fire control and homing, Vader with passive sensors, and then Rexler Brath with nothing on it. You had the option that Marcel was talking about with stripping it down and keeping Rexler Brath, but getting a TIE Striker in there. But I think the one thing we all for sure agree on is swapping out Seventh Sister for Fifth Brother. Like, I think that is just better overall. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that, and hopefully that helps you out. Thank you to everybody who listened this week. We'll be back next Monday, but don't forget, this Wednesday, we have Gold Squadron League Night. It is Hot Shots and Aces Part 1. What pilots and stuff are we bringing? We actually don't even know yet. We got to send a message out to the chat and see what people are bringing. So we'll find out. I think for sure I want to try to get Leia on the board. K2SO in some form. I'm sure some B-Wings. Fifth Brother.
Why not?
Right? We'll figure something out. But yeah, we'll get something out there. And Thursday, Gold Squadron Paincast with Luke Carrington. Sunday, Echo Base is back. All right, everybody. All right, everybody. Wow, I'm tired of starting to slur my words. It's late. Thanks for watching, everybody. For everybody here at Gold Squadron Podcast, Gold Squadron out.